A 500-year-old tragedy haunts La Llorona, the crying woman. Maria's quiet life rescued a beautiful woman from poverty. Her beauty captivated rich and poor men in town. Maria, from a modest home, dressed in her best white gown for nighttime fandangos. A rich nobleman fell for Maria's attractiveness, starting the story. He proposed quickly, and Maria joyfully accepted. After moving near Maria's hamlet, she had sons. Maria was thrilled with marriage and motherhood, so her husband gave her gifts. Time wrecked their idyllic existence. A faithful spouse became distant, debauched, womanized, and drank. After presents and attention disappeared, Maria raised their kids alone. She said her spouse wanted to leave for a richer woman. His disappearance occurred after he left for work. Maria reared her sons after his departure, being strong and resourceful. Unfortunately, her ex-husband and a lovely young acquaintance appeared in a carriage on a dark riverbank evening. Maria was outraged when he ignored her and talked to their kids before driving away. Maria, enraged, threw her sons into the river. Mother jumped into the water to save her children's corpses. She mourned her sons day and night after waking up. Maria, grieving on the riverbanks in a ripped white gown, searched for her boys without food. She weeps all night as her beauty turns into a hideous skeleton. The river murdered Maria. After her death, tormented La Llorona wandered the Santa Fe River. Nightwalkers feared her screaming curse. She floated on the river or between coastal trees in her long white gown. La Llorona was reportedly asked about her children at Heaven's Gates. After being denied admission until she discovered her drowned children, she traveled the world forever. Her constant crying earned her the nickname La Llorona, the weeping woman. La Llorona, imprisoned between life and spirit, allegedly kidnaps her children. She apologizes and wants replacements. Nighttime witnesses say she appears as a ghost around rivers or lakes. Hispanics think La Llorona's cries mean death from this horrible practice. Some worry that seeing her will doom them. The traditional legend warns children against nighttime deep stream crossings. La Llorona's unsettling legacy exists after its story shifted from dread to caution. Narrative-savvy adults still believe in its enchantment. The terrible story of the sobbing mother and her ceaseless search for her children haunts. The story turns macabre. Other La Llorona river incidents add to the sadness. Locals have observed more La Llorona during moonlit seaside nights. Reports suggest that the river is the source of grotesque seaweed-clad apparitions. Some believe these awful spirits are the souls of people who died in the same waters by accident, suicide, or malicious play. When La Llorona's mythos merges with these other afflicted ghosts, the river becomes haunted. Ghosts emerge from the water, screaming with La Llorona. Visitors to the river at night feel dismal. Horror goes beyond ghosts. Some horror stories depict curious or unbelievers wandering near a river. An invisible power draws these unfortunate victims into a web of weird apparitions and terrifying hands that seem to reach out from the river. Some reported feeling cold fingers on their flesh, hearing frantic whispers of lost souls, and seeing drowned faces peering up from the depths. The peaceful riverfront becomes a nightmare where living and dead dance in agony. She can adjust the elements, making La Llorona's haunting scarier. Witnesses report chilling wind gusts, sudden temperature decreases, and dread in her presence. Some saw the river swirl and rush as the woman cried. Reality bends as life and death blur. Many who doubted the supernatural were surprised to find the dead and living mixing in a mournful symphony on the riverbank. La Llorona, tragedy haunts listeners beyond the riverbank. Become nightmares. We create colorful tapestries of sadness with the sobbing woman in mind. These visions show her malice, and her anguished screams foretell tragedy. Unfortunately, her spectral presence in nightmares haunts those who are miserable in the morning. Background shadows scare familiar places. Crying women live beyond sleep and wake. La Llorona's dependence may be her worst legacy. Legend has claimed that the crying woman stole babies and visited some. Contacts are intimate terror, not glimpses or nocturnal howling. Some wake up to see her ghostly presence at the foot of their beds, her pale face lighted by the moon. Cold, horrible, century-old despair fills the room. La Llorona is terrible now. Reports of a smothering, unseen force on chests froze witnesses in horror. An unpleasant whisper or chorus of depressing remarks. Originally sad, the wailing woman now represents dread and foretells abyssint.